What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. If you're watching us, you see the brand new look because we were told to have this brand new look from the corporate overlords. So that's what we have. To my left or right, we're really not sure. Virtually is Cam Underwood. He's the managing editor of StateOftheU. He's still in South Florida. Where am I? I'm in the cold, dreary, rainy Northeast, where my flight may or may not take off tomorrow because of 45-mile-per-hour winds. That'll be fun. I'm Brian the Beast London. You can follow me at Miami Radio Beast. You can follow Cam at Underwood Sports. And Cam is a diva because he insisted on being on that side. So
I'm not a diva. I just asked if you wanted to do it the other way.
Uh-huh.
You took that as you took that. That wasn't what I said. But hey, that's fine.
Okay. I see where we are. Hey, I hope everyone had a good holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope you had a good one. We're in that funky in-between, Cam, this is the time of year where I don't know what day it is. I don't know what date it is. I just know that I think the Canes play on the 31st. We're a few days away from that. We're recording this on a Monday at 3 o'clock. But, we're all in that kind of like, hey, I had to get through the Christmas thing, and now I got to prepare myself for the New Year's thing, and there's a big football game to get ready for. So let's dive in to that, shall we? And here's where I want to start. A matter of fact, I'll be completely transparent. When we first linked up virtually here this afternoon, I told Cam I just wanted this game to go away, that I was just done with it already, and it hadn't even been played yet. And I think I'm feeling that way for several reasons. One, because I still – all right, let me backtrack for a second and tell a little story, if I may. Can we have story time with the Beast for a moment to start out? Yeah. So it was a 2002 season. And the Beast, that would be me, I was a sideline reporter for the University of Miami Hurricanes football team. That means I was on the field, on the sidelines, on the radio broadcast, watching that amazing team up close and personal, walking up and down the sideline, talking to players in between plays, hollering at coaches, hey, what's going on? And it was awesome. And then we got to Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. And we played a team called Ohio State. And it was a bit of a rough go. It was a bit of a tougher task than I thought it would be, but I thought we were going to win. And then it looked like we had won. And then there was a flag that was thrown by a man whose name we've come to find out was Terry Porter. And before that flag had dropped, I was halfway out to midfield to stick a mic in Larry Coker's face to interview him for the radio broadcast, as he would be the national championship coach for the second year in a row. And somewhere, I don't know where it is. I think it's actually in a box somewhere in my storage. Is an actual a photographer gave me a photo from above the stadium of, you can see me on the field with a mic stretched out, with graffiti being sprayed up, because that had happened. We all thought the game was over. And you see the flag in the air as I'm already out to midfield. People that know me know I am not that fleet of foot. So for me to be out to midfield before there was a flag thrown tells you a lot about that. And because of that traumatic experience, I have held it all in for 23 years, waiting for a moment to somehow release that from my body in some way, shape, or form. Now, I thought it would happen when we went up to Columbus a while ago. That did not happen. That game caused me so much stress. I had insomnia for about a week before it, and basically it wasn't until someone shot me with an elephant dart after that game that I was able to sleep for a few hours. But that didn't happen then. So it's this year. It's got to be this year, because I need to just get all the demons out. And
that is why we went to the Horseshoe, by the way. Beat them the next year in Hard Rock, with Al Golden his first year. Crazy. Yeah.
So I just want to get the demons out. and this could do it. And I think that is part of the reason why I just want it to be over. I just want to wake up around 1 a.m., in 2026 and be like, oh, Canes are victors. Perfect. I didn't have to watch the game. We're good. But evidently that's not the case. Cam told me that couldn't be the case.
No, unfortunately not. I was in college at the time. I had lots of good friends on the team, people who, their Christmas present were tickets to the game. One of my best friends in the world, Joe Badrick, was a band captain at the time. And we're both Michiganders, so getting to march in the Rose Bowl parade was like, the year before was a crazy, crazy, crazy high honor for him. But he was there, and the band was processing out of the stands because they were told, to do that. The game day set, which is on site at the national championship game, they'd already moved it onto the field on the other end zone corner. They had printed, they do the quick print and hand out the one-page newspapers. Canes win, go back to back. Joe has one of those. I have several other friends who have that from the game that they had handed all of that out. Sideline reporters on the field. Game day set is being wheeled and is 70% all the way set up. Band is coming out of the stands. Everybody is, celebrating. And then this one person from Ohio decides to fabricate some stuff. And so I have all of the same emotions, differently, obviously, because I was not the sideline reporter at the game. But I understand a game of consequence against this team that we are going up against, who is the single most hated team in my life as a native Michigander who grew up as a Michigan fan and then a Miami alum. I hate nobody else. I root for 3 teams every week in order: Miami, Michigan, whoever's playing Ohio State. That's literally, I've said it for years. Miami, Michigan, and whoever's playing Ohio State, because I don't want anything good for them. It could be Notre Dame. It could be Duke, Florida State, Florida. I'm rooting for them against Ohio State every single week. I hate them. And I understand wanting to exorcise the demons and everything. But this is not a thing that you can skirt by or anything. We got to go through them to get to where we want, emotionally and performance-wise, where we want to go. So I hear you. All of us who are of legal age, basically, and we're there, we know we have the same or a similar version of those feelings, thoughts, and emotions from that day of being robbed. And I continue to submit that we didn't lose that. Every time I talk about college, I say we lost the second game of my freshman year at Washington, and we didn't lose again until my senior year against North Carolina. People are like, oh, what about the Fiesta? No, I didn't.
No, because we
did,
bastard.
So sorry, miss me with that. So we did not, and I hear you. So this is that. I mean, obviously, like the players, they weren't even born at the when the Fiesta Bowl happened. So whatever, it's for bald old men like you and I to reminisce on that. But I mean, look, I've seen so many bad Miami Hurricanes teams, so many bad games, legendary defeats, 48-0 at the hands of freaking Virginia to close out the Orange Bowl, 58-0 against Clemson. I've seen all of these. Middle Tennessee State having literally the most explosive passing game in the history of the sport at the expense of the Miami Hurricanes. Middle Tennessee State came in here and blew us out. I've seen all that stuff. Hey, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to go through the journey. I'm very hopeful that we win, but I'm not going to shy away from a major game of consequence because we've been begging for these games of consequence. I mean, would I prefer that Ohio State was 7-5 and already, booking trips to Cancun? Absolutely. It's not the case, so it is what it is. But I hear you. I do hear you. And I said it after we won against Texas A&M. I said, what did I say immediately in the recap? I said my nerves are bad because I know who we're playing, and I know how. If this doesn't go our way, I know what that's going to do to me emotionally. I know because I hate them. But it is what it is, dog. Hey, we got to strap it up, line it up. Let's go.
I was thinking about this before. There is not one other team in the playoff that I would feel this way about.
No.
There's no emotion. Like, Yes, I'm pissed off at Alabama for the 93 Sugar Bowl, George Teague, Lamar Thomas situation. Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. But there's no other team that I have this emotional trigger from other than Ohio State. And of course we're matched up against them. Like it just, of course, because of course.
Because of course, but hey, it is what it is. We got to go through it. We're going to transition to talking ball about the game, but like, it is what it is. This is a big game and a big moment. And you and I, we've sat next to each other for the better part of 11 years in the goddamn press box, talking about, man, I wish that we had a game of consequence or a good team to watch and talk about. And we have that, brother. Come on, dog.
We listen. I think here's the deal. Once we get to game time, first of all, it's New Year's Eve. I know my wife is in the other room ordering a bunch of wings and all sorts of stuff to host a little game watch. And I guarantee you that I will have some liquid courage going by then. So I'll be okay. I'll be ready to strap it up and go. Right. I'll be ready for game time. It's just, it's getting to me right now a few days beforehand. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break because we tend to be long-winded and I want to give us the time we need to dive in to the game. And so we're going to start out. We're going to talk about Miami's defense against Ohio State's offense. We're going to dig into that and more. On the other side, you're watching and listening to the Real Ones Canes podcast. Back here on the Real Ones Canes podcast, we're getting you ready for Miami and Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl in the college football playoff. I'm Brian the Beast London. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast. Sitting next to me virtually, if you are watching, if you're listening, you don't know where he is. That is Cam Underwood. He's managing editor at StateOftheU. StateOftheU.com is the best place to get all your Canes info and news. Open 24/7, 365, and it is free. Go to StateOftheU.com. Follow Cam on Twitter at Underwood Sports. And let's dig in, Cam. When we talk about these two teams, I will say this, and we'll talk about Ohio State's defense in the next segment, but both defenses are sensational. Both of these teams have sensational defenses with studs all over the place. Now, we'll compare and contrast those defenses in a little bit, but let's start with Miami's defense. We know they just did against Texas A&M. And quarterback and Marcel Reed and a couple of wide receivers that were supposed to be amazing, and Miami did a great job. Ohio State's offense is another level. When it comes to their wide receivers, we're very familiar with one of them because we thought he was going to come to the University of Miami and Jeremiah Smith. They have a freshman quarterback, a first-year quarterback in Julian Sain, and they have another wide receiver that complements Jeremiah Smith, and you don't know which one of those guys is going to have the big day. One of them is going to. Jeremiah Smith did against Indiana, although it did not matter. They lost the game. They've got a really good run game. They've got a couple of running backs, including a bruiser from Gulliver that we're familiar with. So as we start to look at Miami's defense against Ohio State's offense, where do you want to start? Where do you go to? Where's the place you want to put the magnifying glass first?
I'm going to put it exactly where Mario Cristobal put it in his introductory presser. Big dudes close to the ball. That's foundational to his belief of roster construction, team building, and just playing football. So one of the keys to the game is going to be Miami's defensive line against Ohio State's offensive line and tight end and running back in blocking protection situations, whether that's run or pass. It's how Indiana was able to take some of the air out of the game and hold Ohio State to 10 points and win that conference championship game by just winning up front. And I think that Miami definitely has the advantage up front with the collection of talent that we've seen and the recent performance of that talent, whether that being Akeem Mesdor, Ruben Bain, David Blay, Justin Scott, Ahmad Moten, Armando Blunt, Lightfoot, Third Scroggins, like whomever. Those 8 really at the top of the D-line rotation has been truly exceptional. And we're going to need more truly exceptional performance from them in this game. Ohio State is playing their backup right guard or second string because the starter was abjectly terrible this year.
And by the way, he was terrible, and they pulled him out, and then they said he was hurt. So,
right. Well, exactly.
Go with that how you will.
We have eyes in our heads and brains that work. You know what I mean? Like, he got pulled because he was not up to standard. And then afterwards, they gave themselves some cover of saying, well, sure, fine, whatever. But injured or healthy, he was not going to play. So they're actually looking at, the rotation guy being a better option full time. They're going to need it, again, because Miami's defensive line is elite. That's where I start everything. If you can get pressure on Julian Sayin, who is not the runner that Marcel Reed is. He is mobile in the pocket. He can slide around and things, but he's not going to, chunk you for 12, 15, 20 yards at a stretch in the run, in the QB run game or, when he escapes pressure. But, yeah, Miami up front got to shut down that run. Bo Jackson, great name. C.J. Donaldson from Gulliver, who used to be at West Virginia, who most people wanted at tight end, and he went to West Virginia. He was like, no, I'm a running back kid. Cool. All right. And they have more 4- and 5-star talent because they recruit at an elite level. But the defensive line getting pressure in the passing game and dominating the run game as they have is going to be foundational towards Miami winning. So that's where I start with everything. On top of that, then you need guys in the secondary to step up. So, we have Poyser and Thomas at safety. You have Keontae Scott back doing his multifaceted Swiss Army knife, thing from the slot. You are not going to have Damari Brown, who is out again with a foot injury. So he was out in the first round. He's out for this week, already been announced.
I mean, and by the way, from what everyone is saying, he will not be back this year.
Right. So don't expect to see him again, which is it's a big loss because he was really stellar, even though he was probably like 6th on the call list in the secondary because, you're putting the spotlight on these other players. Man, he was really, really, really good. And he's rocked up. He's big and physical, like 6'1", probably 205. I mean, he looks like college Antrell Roll physically. You know what I mean? A little bit of a different player, but man, he was really stellar when challenged in the pass game this year was Damari Brown. So that is an absence for sure. But yeah, you're going to need everybody just to do their job and to do it at an elite level. You're going to need players to tap into every bit of athleticism that they have, whether that's OJ Frederick trying to keep up with people on drag routes, which he could not do against Louisville, whether that's Ethan O'Connor, who's taller and lankier at a 6'3", almost 6'4" corner, stepping up. Xavier Lucas, who is an athletic specimen. He's going to have to be out there to go against Tate and Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis, who's also from down here. You're just going to need all of those guys to really step up. I think I left linebacker for last because I think you're going to need plays from them. But I don't want to overlook them fully because that Mo Toure hit at the goal line on second down late in that fourth quarter saved the game before the Bryce Fitzgerald interception. So you're going to need plays like that. But I'm more looking towards the line and the secondary to make game-changing plays toward if Miami is going to put together a performance towards victory. I really think that the front end and the back end is really where that's going to have to come from, and linebackers being kind of league average, not ruining things.
So I look at it very similarly. I think the most important thing for Miami's defense is to get in Julian Sayin's face, to get him off kilter, because I believe Miami's defense is probably the best they've seen this season. Indiana played unbelievably, and Indiana has a good defense. I think Miami's defense is ranked better. Texas also, but I'm not sure that their quarterback has seen a group of 4 defensive linemen like the University of Miami's this season. Certainly not Mesidor and Bain. They've not seen a duo like that.
There's not another duo like that.
Well, no, right. It's obvious. Okay, so
with the exception of maybe in practice, because like they have a very strong defense.
Right. Yeah, yes, exactly. And we'll get to their side because it's really good too. So I think listen, the whole key is yes, they can run the ball. Miami's shown that they can stop the run. They do have kind of a thunder lightning situation with their ability to put Donaldson in there in short yardage, tough run situations. Again, a kid from Gulliver by way of West Virginia, I think. But again, getting Sayin off kilter is going to be the key, because I don't know that you can completely shut down those 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers and a tight end. I don't know that you can completely stick with both of them, 3 of them, 4 of them all day. And I'd be interested to know, Cam, because you know ball better than I do. If you're Corey Heatherman and you look at what's ahead of you with Tate and Smith, and then you mentioned Innis, and they get a pretty decent tight end as well. How do you handle that situation?
You do what you do best. So you're going to have to mix man and zone. Me, myself, personally, I would never leave Jeremiah Smith on, whoever's guarding him on an island one-on-one, hope and pray kind of a thing. Right. Even if you're going cover 1, so with only 1 deep safety and you're bringing extra pressure, that deep safety got to go to the side that number 4 is on. And if 17, who is Carnell Tate, if he beats you, or, cool, fine. But I'm tilting the defensive secondary. I'm tilting the coverage that way, even if I were to go to a blitz with a single high safety behind it. But, yeah, you're going to have to mix things up. You're going to have to, bring a little bit of pressure. Again, if we can get pressure with 4 like we've done all year, then okay, cool. Then you bring a Keontae Scott every now and then. You bring a Jacoby Thomas every now and then in a blitz situation. But then, you go a little zone blitz where you drop somebody. We've seen them drop Bain and Mesidor in zone blitz situations. Miami is very, very, very talented. So is Ohio State. We are not the 2001 team presently, where it is man free, cover 2, man under, figure it out. We got better guys than you. We play man to man across the board, 2 high safeties. They close off all the airspace. Good luck. We do not have that kind of talent advantage here. So you cannot do that. You cannot do that on every play. Now, you have to make choices, and it's based on game situations. So if there are a couple of snaps of man across the board or man under 2 high coverage, okay, I could see us doing that. But also I could see us running cover 3, cover 6, cover 9, cover 2 invert, Tampa 2, doing all kinds of different things in the secondary, because you cannot do just one thing. Because if you give him one picture, he's going to pick you apart. And I was just looking at the rundown of Julian Sayin's stats this year. He's been above 60. He was 65% completions against Texas, 63.6 against Rutgers, 14 of 22. He's been above 70 in every other game, percent completions. Like, if you give him one thing, he's going to dot you up. Even if you give him multiple things, he's going to dot you up. So you have to do multiple things to try to combat what they do on film, be prepared for any wrinkles, but you got to do what you do on defense. And what we do on defense are multiple different coverages, multiple different looks, and then pressure from multiple different spots, hopefully starting up front. That's what I expect from Corey Heatherman. That's what we've seen from Corey Heatherman. So that's what I'm expecting from this team this week.
The other thing about Sayin is he doesn't make that many mistakes. He only has 6 interceptions on the year compared to Carson Beck's 10. So despite him being a freshman, he's pretty smart under center, behind center, in the pocket. Again, he's not much of a he's not a huge factor to run, as long as run of the year is 12 yards.
Right. So, and I will say he does have interceptions in consecutive games, however. So one against
I'm not saying he's perfect, but
right. No, I just want to throw that out there for the people as well. Like, yes, he has very few, but he's given it up through the air in each of the last 2 games. So it is possible that he could do that against Miami as well.
in my research, the reason why that happened is because those defenses gave him different pictures to look at, which is what you were talking about, which is when he sees something that he has not seen before, he might make a mistake, which is the key for Miami's defense, is to make it uncomfortable for him, both in the pressure they provide and the coverages they are in, so that he is not seeing things that he has seen before over and over again. Because at some point, for a quarterback, it becomes almost muscle memory. Hey, I see this coverage. I've seen this before a million times. I know what I'm doing with the football. Whereas, hey, wait, I have not seen this on tape. What am I doing now? This is something new to me. I don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. So that happens. You mentioned our linebackers, and I want to talk about our linebackers for a second, because
let's do it.
I don't know where to go with our linebackers.
Where do you want to go?
I think they're fine.
I
think our linebackers are fine.
I agree.
And they're probably overshadowed by the talent we have up front and the talent we have in the back end.
Agreed.
But also, there's no one in our linebacker core that I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a legitimate first rounder. That's a stud. That's a guy that, is going to set the world on fire, which is fine. You don't have to have first round draft picks at every position. And I'm just, let's put it this way. How would you rate our linebackers play this year?
BB minus.
Okay, that's about where. That's right. I was going to say B minus. That's about where it is. And the question is that good enough against
I think
the team against Ohio State?
Rotate. Mo Toure, more as a run stopper than a coverage guy. I've talked all season about the fact of like his mind seeing like I should be going and doing this, but the fact that he has multiple knee injuries, ACL tears in his past,
just can't get there.
I can't get there anymore.
Yeah.
But in a very tight short area, he got there against Texas A&M. So shout out to him on that. If it was like another step or two, he probably doesn't get there, which is the thing. So it'll be interesting. I think that Popo Aguirre is going to have to really step up. I did a piece about the recruiting battles between Miami and Ohio State, the one that you asked me about last show. Popo Aguirre picked Miami over Texas, Florida, USC, and Ohio State, I want to say. And maybe Alabama in there too, and Georgia. You know what I mean? But like, it was a who's who of recruiting who was the final group for Popo Aguirre. I need that guy that everybody in America wanted. I need that guy. Chase Smith, super athletic, super happy for what he's done in his limited role. Love that. Cameron, OG Bobby Pruitt is a little thin, but if you get into a spot where you need to spy a quarterback or running back, I think that he's your kind of move dude who can do those kind of things, has those movement skills. But yeah, I just think that they need to be solid, consistent, just do your job. And it doesn't need to be superstar.
You haven't even talked about Wes.
I haven't even talked about Wesley Bisnath. True. I have not. Excuse me. That was an oversight on my part. I think that Toure is the most consistent, especially when it comes to stopping the run. And so I think that that's what he does best, and where linebacker has been the best in every game except for Virginia Tech, where, my God, we couldn't fit the run to save our lives. But we won that game, so whatever. But yeah, Wes, I think that he's going to have to play one of his best games of his career. And just like I was talking about with Popo Aguirre, I need that player that everybody in America was recruiting. Same thing times 10 for Wesley, because Wesley plays 10 times the snaps, basically. So yeah, those guys, the other guy next to Mo Toure, whether that's Bisnath, whether that's Aguirre, I really think that they're going to need to step up. Ohio State is a freshman running back, Bo Jackson. Yes, that's his name. Has run for over 1,000 yards. CJ Donaldson has 10 touchdowns, so he's more the red area back. And then they have James Peoples and Isaiah West, two other blue chip running backs in that room as well. So yeah, there's work to be done by the linebackers. But yeah, the star power on this defense, the big dudes close to the ball, and the fast dudes in the secondary.
Before we take a break and jump and switch sides of the football, talking about Ohio State's offense, you did the recruiting piece, so obviously we know about Jeremiah Smith and what happened there. Talk to me about other guys on Ohio State's offense that maybe Miami was after or from South Florida, like C.J. Donaldson. What comes to mind there as it relates to the University of Miami's past experience with guys that are now playing for the Buckeyes?
CJ Donaldson was not a guy that we recruited, so like that's not on the radar. So just whatever. Julian Sayin was a guy that we recruited. If you've seen, there's a viral video that's on social media of Mike Rumpf talking to a collected group of recruits on a 7-on-7 visit day. And he was railing about, Tuscaloosa ain't nothing. And it's good on Saturdays, but you got to live there and don't nobody want to live there. And da-da-da-da. And this is in Julian Sayin's the spring after his junior year of high school when he was committed to Alabama. And the videographer kind of goes over and puts the camera on Julian Sayin's face, and he eye rolled worse than my niece Emma did at hearing that. But he's just like, you can say what you want to say, buddy. I'm not coming here. So yeah, Julian Sayin, their starting quarterback, is somebody that we recruited on the offensive side of the ball as well. Jeremiah Smith, obviously, their old backup quarterback, Aaron Noland, who was slated to be their potential quarterback of the future, but then Nick Saban retired, and Julian Sayin said, cool, I'm going to go to Columbus, and poof, there went all of Aaron Noland's playing time. Also, Brandon Innes, who Miami had been recruiting for about 5 years from when he started with 8th grade snaps at the former university school, which has now been renamed and absorbed by the Nova Southeastern University, redone their colors, redone their branding, all that stuff. But I'm talking the old, for those who have been following recruiting down here for a while, the old green and yellow Roger Harriet coached. Yes, who's from Aquinas. That's when he was cutting his chops to be able to get the Aquinas job. So all of those years ago, Miami was recruiting Brandon Innes, who is like the number 3 receiver up there. And also on offense, Jordan Lyle and Mark Fletcher were both committed as running backs to Ohio State. They both flipped in 2 of the last 3 cycles to Miami. So Chance Robinson also was being recruited by Ohio State in a lot of different ways, but he decided to come to Miami. And then the 2 freshman tight ends for Miami, Brock Schott and Luka Gilbert, are from Leo, Indiana, and Westchester, Ohio. Luka Gilbert is from there, and that is a school at Lakota West that has put tons of players into the Ohio State program over years. So that's kind of the look on offense. So Jeremiah Smith, I put it in the piece, and I'm going to say it here. He's the reason that I wrote the piece, because everybody wants to talk about Jeremiah Smith. And he's the best prospect I've seen down here since I've been here in 25 years. So, yeah, that was what precipitated me to write it. But there were other guys on offense, including guys that we got in 2 running backs and a wide receiver, although I will admit Chance Robinson was probably further down on the list for Ohio State. But they brought him in for an official visit his year also. So it wasn't just a camp offer and hope. I only wrote about the guys that were actual competitive recruiting situations, not one where either team gave a camp offer and the kid never circled back, but actual true competitive recruiting situations. So plenty of them. 2 of the 3 starting wide receivers, the quarterback, their short yardage back is from down here. Carnell Tate went to IMG Academy. He's from originally from Chicago, and he played with Jeremiah Smith and them on South Florida Express, the 7-on-7 powerhouse program from down here. So he's someone who's well known, but Miami tried to recruit him but didn't really get any foothold with Carnell Tate. So I did not include him in the piece, but it's a thing to know. And there's plenty more footnotes, but those are the real high notes on offense of who both Miami and Ohio State recruited going forward.
All right, let's jump to the other side of the football for both teams. We'll get to Miami's offense versus Ohio State's very talented defense. We'll do that on the other side. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Back here on the Real Ones Canes podcast, we're getting you ready for Miami and Ohio State, college football playoff, Dallas, Texas, the Cotton Bowl, Jerry's World. It'll be coming your way 7:30 Eastern on New Year's Eve. We are taping this on Monday, December 29th, just after 3 p.m. He is Cam Underwood. He's managing editor at StateOftheU.com. Follow Cam on Twitter at Underwood Sports. I'm Brian the Beast London. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast. Cam, StateOftheU.com is simply the best website as it relates to Miami Hurricanes coverage. It is free. It's open 24/7, 365, and there is so much content up there. I was spying at stateoftheu.com and sifting through. The feed is amazing. All sorts of stuff going on. What do we got going on at stateoftheu.com?
A couple new basketball pieces by our basketball writer, Justin Perez. Miami enters ACC play against a mediocre Pitt team at home. And then all of the quarterfinal stuff. Matchup of the week, Jordan Lopez, the injury report update by Craig T. Smith. Again, all our story stream with everything right here on the front page. All of our college football playoff content is going in that one place. 2025 Ohio State and Miami meet 2002 Ohio State and Miami by Rob Weaver. It's a really good piece. You should check it out. What the pick experts are picking, feature between about Malachi Tony and Jeremiah Smith, trash talk, another piece by Justin Perez about Miami hoops, recruiting radar, the piece that I just said about the recruiting battles between these teams, another basketball piece about a 5-star from Columbus signing with Miami, your first installment of the film forecast, the how to watch, and more. I'm working on a couple of things. One thing I know we'll post today, another thing tomorrow. We have plenty of stuff. So please come on a friend with us. We are really ramping it up because this is the biggest game that we've had in 23 years. So yeah, stateoftheu.com. All that and more. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. The signing day story stream is up there on the front page as well. The recruiting rules, you saw it as I scrolled by. Like, we do great stuff, and I'm really proud of it, and I would love to share it with your eyeballs. So go check it out.
It's truly amazing, and it's free, which is the best thing, because every other website that has any kind of information you're going to want, you got to pay a boatload for. So go check out stateoftheu.com. Cam, let's get into Miami's offense versus Ohio State's defense. And when I look there, first of all, there is not a position or a level of Ohio State's defense, front, middle, back end, that does not have an All-American on it. They have talent in every single phase of the game. And it is going to be an incredibly tough challenge for Shannon Dawson, Carson Beck, and this Miami Hurricanes offense to find a way against Ohio State's defense. They are very, very, very good. And off the top of my head, I'm guessing the most dominant defense Miami has faced this season. Yeah,
absolutely,
by far. Now, at some point, we can do the comparison between Miami's defense and Ohio State's defense, and which one do you think is better? But that doesn't really matter as it pertains to Miami's offense facing Ohio State's defense. So let's dig into that. I look at Ohio State's defense and I think about Miami's offense, and I think, how is Miami going to move the football? What is it going to take? And honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, listen, I'm glad that Miami has a Swiss Army knife like Malachi Tony that you can do different things with. I'm really happy that Miami's, starting running back in Mark Fletcher looks like he is taking it to the next level right at the right time. I'm really happy with the fact that Carson Beck seems to be playing his best football, maybe of his career at this point, as it relates to as we get to this point of the season. And Miami's offensive line obviously has one of the top draft picks on it, and a bunch of other guys that are going to be draft picks. There's not a hole on Miami's offense, but it's just the defense they are facing is just spectacular.
Agreed. But Miami's going to have to figure it out. I think that it starts just like defense up front, and that starts with running the ball. Texas ran the ball for 166 yards at 4.5 a carry. Purdue was at 4.18, and then Michigan 4.17. And Michigan and Indiana are the only two other teams that ran for 100 or more. But there was also a 94 against Grambling State, a 95 against Wisconsin, and a 92 against Purdue. So you can find success in the run game. against Ohio State. We're going to have that. I think that you're going to have 120 yards or more because you're going to need to and want to control the time of possession, which Miami has done in every single game except for the Texas A&M game this entire season. And you're going to want to take advantage of the skill of your offensive line. We bought into that when we got Brian Cristobal back here. So that's going to have to be foundational. So you're going to have to hit the runs that are there to be hit. And I mean that in every iteration, right? So, iteration, drink game. There you go. So 5 yard, if it can hit for 5, hit it for 5. If it can hit for 15, hit it for 15. Like I'm not saying everything has to be like you're playing, college football, the video game on freshman where like you just walk past people and score on every play. But you have to get the available yards and fight through contact. So I think there's going to be a big Mark Fletcher game. Again, Mark Fletcher was committed to Ohio State. There's going to be, I think, there's a role for Marty Brown in this game as a tough interior runner. And if you get enough plays, I really think that we need to see some Gerard Pringle also to stress their rush defense in different ways with different schemes. Not only the Malachi Toney stuff, which I think should be in there as well. So you're going to need a diversity of scheme. You're going to need the excellence there. So, again, if it's a short gain and that's all you can get it. If it's a big gain, you have to hit those. You cannot leave those yards on the field like we did in some game, like against Virginia Tech. We didn't hit all of those, but we hit that wheel route in the low red zone to Pringle, right? So we got some yardage to a running back there. But Shannon Dawson talked about the fact we missed so many runs. You cannot miss those against Ohio State when they present themselves. And we've seen teams do that. That's foundational. One of the other things I'm going to be writing this week that will definitely go up tomorrow because I'm only at the beginning of crafting this. For Miami to win, this is going to take a legendary performance from Carson Beck.
Yeah.
And you can take that any way that you want. If you're talking 47 for 47 for 593 yards and 12 touchdowns,
that ain't happening, bro. That ain't happening.
No, I'm putting it out there as an example. Let me finish, please. Thank you.
Sorry.
It could also be, hold on. Let me go to the passing game log defense. That could also be 65% completions for 230 yards and the game-winning touchdown in a key moment. That's what, it's just over that. That's what Fernando Mendoza did. He did 15 of 23 for 65.2% completions for 222, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but that touchdown was the game winner in a key moment. Right? So it doesn't have to be video game numbers.
It's when it counts. It's when it counts is when you have to make the play.
But if you want to give me analogous performance to just deal with what I'm going to say and move on. Remember when North Carolina ran for 700 yards against Miami and it was it broke everything? If Carson Beck were to have that kind of passing outlier performance against Ohio State, look, cool with me, right? But I'm also thinking more in the 240 to 270 with like 2 touchdowns in key moments, that kind of legendary performance. But it's going to take big throws in big moments that count, making those plays. That's what it's going to take from Carson Beck in this passing game. And again, I'm agnostic as to who the receiver is. It could be Tony. It could be Trader. It could be Daniels. It could be Marion. It could be Joshua Moore. It cannot be Dalen Upshaw because he's out. It could be one of the tight ends, Elijah Lofton, the most talented player on the entire team. Hey, whatever. I could be to a running back on a check down or a swing right out of the backfield. I don't care, but it's going to take some kind of legendary, I would think more moment than full virtuoso masterclass, but it's going to take that from Carson Beck in a moment or moments that matter to win this game.
I'm going to phrase it in the way that I want to phrase it, which is I'm not sure legendary is how I want to put it, only because I don't want to think of trying to have a legendary performance against this defense. But you know what I want it to be? Mistake free. This is not a team like Miami cannot afford to make mistakes against this team. Yeah, I just don't think that you're not going to be able to recover.
See, I hear you, but Mendoza threw an interception early in that game and came back. So
he
he
had
a
again,
legendary moment that carried the day. Would I prefer it to be mistake-free? Yes. I don't think that mistake-free football is a firm requirement for victory. It does make things more difficult, where you might, instead of one legendary drive moment, you might now need 2 or 3 to overcome whatever error issue that you already had. I just don't think that's the only way to victory.
I would tell you that Ohio State is a really good defense, but the interceptions leader only has 2. So it's yes, they're incredibly great defense, and they will cause you problems, but they are not ball hawks per se. So there is that. Here's the other thing I want to think about.
Okay,
and this is going to make your head explode.
Cool.
By all means, by every prognosticator I have seen, I've watched 4 million YouTube videos. I've read 4 billion articles. I read the one on the State of the U earlier with all the predictions from all the experts, right, of how this game's going to go. Everyone has this game, for the most part, being like the line of the game is stupid. I think it's still at like around 9.5 to 9, somewhere around there. Like I think it's going to be closer to that than that, regardless of winner or loser. This is going to be a tight game. I'm going to tell you right now, in this game and only this game, and this is where your head is about to explode, I will take a field goal. If you have a chance to put points on the board in a game like this, you take the points. If it comes down to it's 4th and 3, or I can kick a field goal, unless you need to go for it because you're behind, I will take the points in a game like this. And I know all year you and I have both been saying we want touchdowns and not field goals. You specifically from day one have been saying that. And I generally agree with you in almost every game, but this game is going to be so tight that if I have an opportunity to put points on the board, I'm going to take it. What say you?
Counterpoint. You have to feel out how many scoring opportunities you think you may have. And if you think that you're not going to have many more, maybe you go for it. You know,
okay.
So it's just, I think it's more.
I mean, listen, time of the game matters, obviously, right? Like, the later you go in the game, then you might have to take a bigger chance. But like overall, like I can't have a drive not come away with points if you're within striking distance in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you on that. But I mean, like, I'm still looking at 7s over 3s. Like, you don't win games with field goals. And you have to take advantage. Like, you have to take advantage of the situations that are in front of you. You know, I don't think that there are going to be very many scoring drives across this game. Like, I think that these defenses are really going to stand up. I think it's going to make it close and competitive. So it does open it. I just think I'm open to considering or taking field goals as wins on more drives than maybe I otherwise would be personally. I don't know. I just scared money don't make none. And there's some instances where I'm more comfortable than you of making a decision and accepting the result, even if it's negative, right? Even if it's not what we want. Like, I'm more comfortable going for it on 4th down, even if we don't get it, because the value add is just infinitely higher to go for it and get it that I'm willing to accept not getting it. And that's just borne out in analytics. Yeah. So, you know, it is kind of what it is, but I'm open to reconsidering it more in this game than I normally would be. I'll put it to you like that. So I'm not fully on your side, but I'm not as firmly on go for it on 4th down as I normally am. So kind of a half measure for me there.
Okay. I mean, we'll take it. I'm just looking at some other things as it relates to this game. As it relates to special teams, Miami has one of the highest touchback rates in the nation at close to 90%. Ohio State's at 71%. They have a great field goal situation, 16 of 19 for the year. Penalties wise, they've got like half as many penalties as Miami, but we can debate as to why that is. ACC referees, but still they're not a boneheaded team very often when it comes to that stuff. So the time of possession is about the same. So if you're looking at that, they've both fumbled the ball at the same time. Miami does have a better turnover ratio. If you're looking at that sort of thing, these teams are really similar.
They are. And I will say the other thing which actually probably pushes me back towards more of going for the sevens every time as opposed to the field goals, unless you're like 4th and 18 from the 35-yard line type thing. Ohio State plays at a glacial pace. Like, you think that Miami plays at a slow tempo offensively? Like, they're watching paint dry and watching.
Yeah, they're lumbering. They're definitely
kind of stuff. Like, and I know that people listening is like, Cam, they play like Ohio State plays slower than Miami does on offense. Now, hey, maybe Ryan Day takes the reins back in the controls of the offense and says, cool, we're going to zag where they think that we zig, and we're going to try to, get more plays, utilize this talent advantage that, if you believe it or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, try to have more plays, have our players have a chance to have more impact, Maybe they do that with a new play caller and everything. But through the course of this year, their DNA on offense has been, I don't even want to call it pedestrian, bro. It's like, I've fallen down and I can't get up and I'm crawling to the phone to
life alert. It's the life alert tempo.
That's the kind of tempo that they play with on offense. I'm not exaggerating. Like, I'm saying it comedically. I'm not exaggerating for comedic effect. They play one of the slowest paces in the country. And even slower than Miami, who also plays a very, very slow pace. So when you get down there, you really have to take advantage because they're going to eat time off that clock by intentional design. So, yeah.
Ohio State averages 64.2 plays per game. Miami averages 67 plays per game, which is both below where you really want to be in the world of college football.
Yeah.
But, hey, let me ask you this question. On Ohio State's defense, was Miami in on any of their studs recruiting-wise? Like something I can go and knock my head against the wall because we didn't pick up this kid or that kid in the recruiting.
Well, since you asked.
Well, I did, yes.
You did ask. You did. Let me see. Where are we at? It is right here. Kenyatta Jackson Jr., their starting defensive end, who is really, really good. First team all conference, I do believe, is from Chaminade, same high school as Jeremiah Smith, 2 years in front of him. So they were high school teammates. Now college teammates. Wood Smith is a sophomore and Jackson Jr. is a senior. His backup is a freshman, so Zion Grady from Enterprise, Alabama. Miami also recruited him. TJ Alford and Jarquez Carter, both of those dudes play rotationally. Alford played on specials basically, and Carter has one tackle in 6 games. All of those are true freshmen. We beat them and others for Zaquan Patterson, who's no longer here. Elias Rudolph, an edge rusher from Cincinnati Taft, is no longer here, but we beat them head up for him. Marquise Lightfoot and Justin Scott, both Chicago natives, on Miami's defense. Justin Scott was committed to Ohio State and then flipped late to Miami. Ohio State was chasing after Marquise Lightfoot along with USC and Illinois, but he chose Miami, so there's defense on our side. And then Raul Aguirre, Popo Aguirre, like I mentioned, and then someone who is no longer with their team, but at Pittsburgh, a safety named Jaden Bonsu from New Jersey. Miami went head up for, and he ended up in Ohio State, but then he left. And he was at Pittsburgh this year when we played them. So several dudes. The name to know, obviously, Kenyatta Jackson Jr., one of their starting defensive ends, one of the best in the country, wearing number 97 from Chaminade. So yeah.
And just so you're aware out there, we talked about All-Americans at every level of their defense. Up front, Caden McDonald is, I think he's at least a consensus All-American. Yeah. Linebacker, 2 of them, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. And at defensive back, they've got Caleb Downs is, again, on every list possible. So, listen, there's studs everywhere for their defense. And listen, we're aware of what Miami's offensive talent is and the ability that Miami's offense has been this year, and the great job that Shannon Dawson has done with Carson Beck and Malachi Toney and Mark Fletcher and Gerard Pringle and CJ Daniels, and he goes on, and the job that Alex Maribal and Mario Cristobal have done with this offensive line. But this is the test. This is it right here. I think if you somehow pull off a victory against Ohio State, there's not another team, at least defensively, in the college football playoff that is going to give you the same kind of challenge that this group will give you.
Georgia gives you a little bit of a different challenge, but similar.
Different challenge, yeah. And sure, Indiana can rise to the occasion. And listen, every team that's left is good, but Ohio State's defense is ridiculous. Cam, let's put it out there. Do you have a prediction? I know I gave mine already to our friend Kane's Muse. What say you?
I guess I'm going to be he of little faith, doubting Cameron until I see it. Ohio State 24, Miami 20. So it gives me no joy to say that. I just think that there are more questions than answers, and we need players to really take a step in this game. I'm going to need to see Carson Beck do it to this level against this level of team. Do I believe Miami can win? Absolutely. And all of the Ohio State fans who are, crabbing just because people are saying, like, I feel that we can compete in this game. Sure. Like, why not? There's no reason why we cannot compete. As I sit here right now, I just struggle to see enough plays being made for Miami to win the day. And as I've said in every other situation, when I've either picked against Miami or said something critical, I openly invite and hope that they make me wrong.
I am in the same situation. My prediction is 21-17 Ohio State for a lot of the same reasons. I'm not sure how Miami can score more points than them, given their defense, and frankly, given their offense. I'm not sure. Something crazy is going to have to happen for Miami to score more points than Ohio State. Now, maybe that is making a mistake and we get a pick six. Maybe that is some sort of special teams play, a block, something crazy. I don't know. But it's going to take something like that for Miami to win this game. I still believe that the spread is ridiculous.
I agree also.
And Miami will cover, but covering only helps those of us that bet on the games. It doesn't help us for wanting a victory. And again, I am with Cam. I hope that I am incredibly, incredibly wrong.
Unless you take Miami on the money line.
You could take Miami in the money line.
Yeah, but I truly think it's a lot the same thing that I said against Texas A&M. You're going to need to win the turnover battle probably by +2. You're going to need to run the ball. You have to have more from Carson Beck than you got against Texas A&M. He's going to have to make big throws in big moments. And again, and I just want to say, like, a legendary moment is not like a Heisman Trophy run, but like a legendary moment is a final drive where you hit a square in on 3rd and 11 for 12 yards to keep the sticks moving. You know what I mean? Like, that might not get the headlines at the end. That's a moment that helps you build that drive to the culminating legendary moment. So we're going to need all of those from Carson. Specifically, and I call him out because as a quarterback, you got to make the throws. And I know you got to do everything else. You got to set the protections, and you got to move CJ Daniels into, help block and open up Mark Fletcher in the run game. You got to do all of those things. But, buddy, at this level, you have to make throws. You're going to have to make throws against this team to be able to win. So show and prove. And if you want to earn yourself NFL draft money, buddy, Wednesday night, with everybody watching against that defense, bam, what other opportunity do you want? Oh, you want one in the semifinals? Win this game. Make those throws, buddy.
I will say this, though. Carson Beck is one of the most experienced quarterbacks left in the CFP. So
True.
He's certainly seen it all. So it's time to put that experience to good use, for sure.
Yeah, well, have your best moment in the biggest moment. Have your best game in the biggest moment, right?
Right, sure.
So go and do it. But I'm, especially maybe it's a little bit of an overcorrection for me based upon what I saw from him last week, but like not in the best necessary outlook with Carson and everything. But in my mind, at least, he's healthy and he's, done all the stuff, but the way that and I know that the win was a factor, but the way that he performed against Texas A&M, like that's a quick ride to a blowout if we have that this week. You know what I mean? So I'm a little skeptical, and we've seen him not necessarily be his best in the biggest moments before, but all of that aside, you have the opportunity to step on stage. You have the opportunity to go and do it. And I really, truly hope that you can.
I can confidently say that wind will not be a factor against Ohio State.
I'm with it, unless they turn the AC up. And yes, there is a partial retracting roof over the Star, which you can see through and everything there, since this is at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Jerry World. Very, very excited still. I want to see us go out there and win, in spite of what I, predicted, projected, whatever. I'm always going to root for the Miami Hurricanes. I always want the best. I always want, especially against this goddamn team that we're competing against this week. But both teams are very talented. And I think that they're going to have to lean on each other, lean on the experience of their coaching staff, because like Mario's been in a moment similar to this. He's gone into the horseshoe and beaten this team. You know what I mean? Carson Beck was on teams that won championships, but he didn't play. He was behind Stetson. He was on the sideline. Got to a SEC championship game, but then he tore his arm up. You know what I mean? So these are things where, you're really going to have to perform at a level that you have not before, and you're going up against a team that has performed on this level. Let it be, we're an hour into recording, saying this for the first time. I don't even think
I was just thinking the same thing.
The defending national champions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Like they've been on this kind of a stage and performed as recently as last year. And Miami has not been on this kind of stage at all. And I don't know if that experience is going to be fruitful or helpful for Ohio State. But the lack of it in terms of the player base for Miami is a question mark that I have. But again, I invite them to prove me wrong and say, it don't matter if we've been here or not. We went there and we won. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for. And I will definitely be dialed in and live tweeting everything all Wednesday night. So, just be sure that you're rocking with us because we're going to be there. And I hope that the story of our season is able to continue.
Before we get out of here, I always give out your personal Twitter. Give out the State of the U's Twitter handle because I can never find it.
It's the State of the U. So with and I hate that because I know that the team in Columbus, they do that, the whatever, miss me with that. But someone was doing State of the Union commentary back in the early infancy of Twitter. So they had State of the U for State of the Union. So we had to use the prefix in there. But it's at the State of the U. You can check it out. I'm sure that it's all over everything. You can find us on Facebook at the State of the U as well, where I'm behind posting the articles from today, but all those different kind of things. But yeah.
And make sure you listen. Do us a favor. If you've sat through this whole thing, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit follow, hit like, hit subscribe, make a comment. We'd appreciate it. And we have a TikTok as well. Go follow us at the Real Ones Canes podcast. It's just Real Ones Canes podcast. No there. But follow us there. I try to make a video every day to put out some Canes content. So go check that out. And most importantly, listen, we are coming up towards New Year's Eve. That's when the game is. Win or lose, please be safe out there. It is always a bad idea to be on the road as we get towards New Year's Eve and into the wee hours of the new year. It is one of the most dangerous times to be on the road. People do things they should not be doing, mostly driving while intoxicated. Please stay off the roads. Be safe. There's plenty of resources if you need a ride home from your watch party or your New Year's Eve party. Hell, call me. I will come get you or find a way to come get you if you are in that situation. So please, please, please be safe out there and have a great 2026, everyone. Go Canes. On behalf of Cam Underwood, I'm the Beast Brian London. We'll see you next time right here on the Real Ones Canes podcast. Peace.